What's up, everybody? It's your girl, LaDonna Smith, and joining me today is multi-genre author, entrepreneur, publisher, and so much more, Kawan. I got it right this time, right? Yes. See, it's a little background behind that. It took me a couple of times to practice and get it right, but you know, I'm coming in. We're going to do what we do, right? So welcome, Kawan, to the PGCMLS, which is the Prince George's County Memorial Library System series on local authorship, career paths. We talk about everything. And so the reason why I wanted you here today is because I actually have come across your books first and foremost when I was at Antoine Inch Thomas's book stand over at Pataxico Flea Market. You're very familiar, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my man's name.
Yeah.
That's my man's name. And so when I first saw your books, I was like, oh, okay, all right. You know, and don't get me wrong, I'm just going to be honest and very candid, okay? And
I expect nothing less.
Thank you. And I was like, you know what? I was like, another street book. That's all I kept saying, another street book. I like the covers. Your covers attracted me. But I said, here we go, more urban fiction, you know. And I was trying to be like the good girl, but I was still a little bad girl, you know, a little spiciness. So I picked it up, don't get me wrong, because I was actually there for one of my book signings. And so while I'm waiting on people to come, you know, I'm flipping through other authors' books and stuff like that, right? So then that was, fast forward years later, I work in the library now. And whose book do I see in and out, in and out, in and out, all over the place, on the shelf, taking up shelf space. And I'm like, who is this dude? I called you Kawan, but it's Kawan, right? And so
you just said the same thing twice. You know that?
Okay, well, I say Quan when I first got it. Now I've been practicing now. It's Kawan. I got it. Don't mess me up. Don't mess me up.
Go ahead. You good.
But here's the thing, right? So I saw these books on the shelf. And so I said, let me start researching this man, right? This person, okay? And so the first book that I had to actually see was Animal. I hadn't seen Gangsta, Hood Rats, all those yet because I wasn't in that department. I'm actually a former technology person who's now in circulation, okay? Enough about me, okay? But I just wanted to let you know, so when I saw you on a post recently, I was like, oh, I need to talk to him. I need to let his story be heard in Maryland. More so, because you know, you're up north, right?
Uh-huh.
You're from New York, but now you live in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I was like, you know what? We need to introduce him to his audience in Maryland officially. So today, guess what we're doing? We're officially introducing you to the PGCMLS, which is Prince George's County, Maryland audience. So please greet your audience.
All right. What's up, Prince George's County? But you know what's crazy? A lot of them already know who I am. I've been coming down to Maryland with the books since like 2002.
They know
like
you.
Maryland was always no. What I'm saying is Maryland was always one of the hubs. Like you got New York, Philadelphia, Maryland, New Jersey. They were the hubs for independent books. So that's like when they had the Caribou, when they had urban knowledge stores down there. So I was always down there, and PG County especially always showed me love.
All right, so here's the thing: we know you as the author, but today we're going to get to know you as the person. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's how I want to take it. So yeah, we know.
All right, I'm with it.
All right, let's go. So I read somewhere that you're the only child.
Yes.
So that explains some of the stuff that I was getting earlier. No offense, okay?
What's up?
You're good. It was the only child syndrome, so I got it.
What? No, wait. What? No, wait. You got to be specific. Like, what are we talking about? You brought it up. Now you brought it up.
So no. So it wasn't nothing negative. I just wanted to slide it in there to get to see your response. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had it in my note just to see what you want to say.
But you know, I'm an only child, but I had like 15 cousins.
Okay.
So we all like I'm from one of those families, right? Mm-hmm. Where the whole family lives in the same projects.
Okay.
Just in different buildings. So though I'm an only child, like I always had a bunch of cousins around me, uncles, aunts, and all that. Because we was all from the same neighborhood. You ever get into a fight with a kid in your neighborhood and they got family all over, like it's gonna be 5-10 buildings come empty out. Now you gotta fight the whole family. I'm from one of those families.
Okay. All right. I got you. That's how I actually found out one of my cousins was my cousin. I was getting ready to fight him in high school and I was like, don't make me get my people. Like I'm gonna get my people. And then come to find out this was my dad's brother's child. Okay. Right. So, but again, here we go. So, all right, I want to talk about, I'll give you a pass of being the only child, but not the only child. You raised the whole village, right? Yeah. You're going to get to know me. We're going to be so candid and BFS when we're done.
Yeah, listen, I'm with it.
All right. So let's talk about your journey to authorship? You know, I read somewhere too that you actually started writing after a tragic situation. Is that accurate?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, that's accurate.
I want to start and talk about that first. Okay. Tell us
Well,
about that.
well, to be honest, the first book I wrote was in 1995, right?
Mhm.
I was on my way to Illinois from New York in a car, and we stopped at this gas station, and I just went and bought like mad notebooks and started writing this book, which was a vampire story.
Mhm.
I put that on the shelf, and years later, the whole reason that that I was made aware of publishing, let's say, is my mom. My mom was a writer, and it was some things that she wanted to do. So I was a little bit more computer savvy, not much, but a little bit more. So I started helping her do the research and things like that. So up until the point where she died, like this was never my thing. Writing was never my thing. It was always her thing. I would not have known what a Simon and Schuster was, what the Kensington, none of that, because I had no desire to know.
Mhm.
So like when she was going through what she was going through with the cancer, I started writing this story, and the story was actually literally based on an argument. I was arguing with my daughter's mother, God bless. Um, and I was like, yo, this argument is so pointless. Like, they just, why are we even having this argument? It's pointless. It's not about nothing. We just arguing to argue. So I started characterizing her on a piece of a paper bag. And that was the character Martina. And so then I started characterizing a male character on the same piece of paper bag and started writing. Didn't really do too much with it. I would go back to it and mess with it from time to time. So when it got too big for the paper bags that I was writing on, I started writing in notebooks. And when I started filling up the notebooks, my grandmother saw what I was doing. My grandmother bought me one of those secondhand computers. And I'm gonna tell you this how far back we're gonna take it. You remember when them computers weighed like 50 pounds?
Hold on. The big
And
one, IBMs or the Macs?
the
The Apples?
not the apples, the
The
big,
IBMs?
yeah, the big joints like you get in school.
With the green screen
And
on it? I mean, with the green
right,
dots on it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah,
backing myself. All
and
right.
you got to plug it up to the dial-up modem.
And
And so I was,
the printer, the one that was like the spiral paper or whatnot. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah.
All right. I'm with
So so when that was not working for me, I needed a faster computer. My uncle had a faster computer, so I would walk to his house. Now walking from my house to my uncle's house was walking from one end of Harlem to the other end of Harlem. But I would do it every morning, right? I would go see my mom. I would go to my uncle's house in the morning, and then I would go see my mom in the evening, and then I would go home and write on the slow computer. So this was my routine every day. And by the time my mom passed, I think I had just signed to Triple Crown. Like right at the time she passed, I had just signed to Triple Crown. So she never really got a chance to see it. And like I said, it was never my dream. It was not something that I wanted to do. It was just something that happened.
So
And I happened to be good at it.
what was the time frame
Huh?
for that? How long was it?
That was what, as far as when the book came out?
No, from the time from when you started penning, you know, when you were taking care of your mom until you actually.
Oh, like maybe 8 months
Okay. Okay.
from the start, because I wasn't writing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when she started getting really really sick, and I needed an outlet, that's when I started writing. So and that took maybe 4 months. So altogether it was like 8 months. Like 8 months, I won't write for like 2 months or whatever, and then and I'll get back to it.
So writing is more like a therapeutic, you know, outlet for
Absolutely,
you.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
the book that you were working on was about vampires. So how do you, what I'm trying
Hmm.
to get is how do you go from vampires to gangsters to, you know, taking that and then becoming bestseller? You know what I mean? Because that's far
Because
fetched to go from paranormally to the
because
street. You know, like
I'm gonna tell you why. Because the paranormal stories I was writing was for fun. Like street stuff
we'll edit it.
was my life. It
Mhm.
was my life. You understand? It was what I was living when I was going through. I was literally at my bottom. I hit my bottom. And I can't articulate what that means to somebody who has not hit their bottom. But when you hit your bottom, you know about it.
Mhm.
And you like, you know what? There's nowhere I can go but up. So I started writing about, and what inspired Gangsta, I had lived in California for like 2 years.
Mhm.
So me being from New York, we see gangbanging one way because it's not something that's native to where we live. It's not how we live. But when I moved to LA, and I was out there, and I got cool with the guys who I was cool with in LA. I got to see it in a whole different perspective. So, and I was a little older and a little wiser when I came back to New York, and I was looking at it like, y'all have no idea what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing Gangster. It was about my life. The only thing that was different was I made the characters gang members,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a part of what had influenced my life also, being in LA, being in the Midwest with the GDs and the BDs and all that. So I went, like, it was like a point in my life where I just went and lived a bunch of different places. Like, I graduated high school, I packed up and I left. Nobody knew where I was going, and I just wandered the country for years. As a young man, no job, no nothing. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, and I just wandered for years. So when I came back, finally, and I sat still, Gangster was like my manifestation, my interpretation of what I had gone through, what I was doing, what was going on in my life.
I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, don't get me wrong, but I'm sitting here and I'm just going back to my own story, and not taking it off from you to come to me, but just to share a little bit. When I hit that high school age and I was going at, those college years or whatever, I bounced around too. That's how I ended up in Philly and Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
DC, like all these different places, just trying to find myself. And so that's how I actually started working on my street novel that I'm working on now, or I'm trying to take urban out because that's no longer even a genre anymore. It's in non-politically correct or something now, right? So I'm just
Do you
gonna
know?
go
Do you
ahead.
know how that? You know how that even came about? Urban fiction, hip hop fiction. Do you know how that came about?
Talk to me.
I'm gonna tell you how it came about.
Teach us.
When I got signed, I finally signed with a major in like 2002. And if you go back and you do your research, you'll see that phrase or whatever moniker was
Mm-hmm.
worn around that time. So I go to meet with this publisher for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never met with a publisher. Like, I'm in the hood. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm in the hood, but I'm writing books too.
Right.
So there was like this big meeting with the editors and the vice president of the publishing house.
Mm-hmm.
I show up wearing a Dickie suit with a Yankee fitted and some Chuck Taylors. And I walked in the meeting like, what up? What's poppin'? And Matthew Shear, God bless the day, because he's passed now, he looked at me, and then he looked at them, and then he looked at me, because they were like, is he in character, or is this who he is?
Uh-huh.
And the editor was like, no, this is Kawan. This is not a character. This is Kawan. And I'm like, what's up? Like, I smell like weed. Like, I was very young.
Right. Right.
So, and the president, like, we sat and we talked for a little while, and he was like, yo, you are it. And I said, what's it? He said, this new wave, we're calling it hip hop fiction, urban fiction. This new wave, and you are the embodiment. You are the poster boy for what this is, because of how I was dressed that day.
Hold on. So you're the godfather of urban fiction. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not the godfather of urban fiction, because this style of writing was here long before any of us.
But the
But
phrasing and
that
pointing,
phrase,
yeah.
that was how it was broken down to me. Like, you are the embodiment of what we're about to do.
Right.
Because I was just being me.
Right.
Like, I can't speak for any meetings they've had with anybody else, but I'm always me. So I was just being me, and really, and looking back in hindsight years later, if you tell me today that I have a meeting with the president of a publishing house, I'm not going to show up in a Dickie suit smelling like weed.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it still wasn't real to me. My life as I was living it was real to me. The books was okay, boom, okay, they're going to give me some bread, whatever. But my life as I was living it was real. So the same way I would go meet somebody that I'm trying to get something from that I'm not supposed to have,
Right.
I went to meet somebody that I was getting something from that I should have had, that I was supposed to have, that was meant for me.
Gotcha.
But I didn't know. And they're just looking at me like it was like I was acting like I was in character. And the editor had met me before. She met me a few times. So she's like, nah, he's not acting. That's not, like, this is who he is. Takes a little bit of getting used to,
Right.
but this is who he is. But at the same time, you see me show up in this Dickie suit smelling like weed, but I'm talking to you about philosophy. I'm talking to you about classic books. I'm talking to you about having gone to college, about having been a child prodigy in high school. And you're looking at me like, this got to be an act, but it's who I am.
So that goes back to that cliche, don't judge a book by its cover, because really you came
can't.
in and yet, you know, you was still handling your business. And see, I want to
Yeah.
talk about that too. That was good stuff too, by the way. That's why you just have me like listening, you know, as an, you know, yeah, I'm just listening. And so when you were saying, go ahead, I'm gonna let you teach,
No,
Professor.
no, 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 go
Okay.
ahead. I'm good. I'm listening.
So when you were saying about, I heard, well, when I looked in your background and your bios and all that good stuff, and in your books, I see that you have multiple publishers, right? And
Yeah.
multiple publishing deals. So I'm trying to get the bridge from someone that's, in your words, from the streets to now sitting in several publisher houses. How does that even happen? Like, what did you do to get to that point of being even accepted and received by Simon and Schuster, Macmillan, all these different people? Like, what did you do?
That's easy. That's easy. I walk into that meeting wearing a Dickie suit.
That first meeting.
Now, Now, what I mean by that is like, I don't care who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to be me, and I'm always going to be what feels comfortable and natural to me. Now, this is not in the way of going to every meeting and wearing a Dickie suit and being extra hood. No, no, no. But just me being a genuine person. The type of person, whether you think I'm a good person or a bad person, I'm always going to be the same person whenever we bump heads. And the work speaks for itself. I'm a and this is not me tooting my own horn. This is what's been told to me by some of the most prominent editors in the game, that I'm a generational talent. And it took me a long time to really say, you know what, I am a generational talent, and really take it serious like that.
So let me
So
ask
it's like,
you. Okay.
uh,
No, go ahead.
no,
You just did these
no,
dramatic pauses, so I'm like, but go ahead.
no. So all I was gonna say was that just me being like, and some publishers, initially, if you're a new publisher trying to do business with me, you may be on the fence because I'm just nuts. I'm a typical artist. I'm out of my mind nuts, and you're never gonna get your project on time. But when you sit down and you talk to me, and then you see these words and you reflect on the words and what I'm doing, you say, you know what? It was worth the headache.
I'll just make sure it wasn't one of your pauses. But
Yeah.
so but you know, even from the time when we first got, you know, even in the conversation until now, I'm seeing this genuineness about you, you know, and it's making me even like look up to you even more. I know sometimes people don't like to hear that, but being someone who, you know, being a starting out author, a beginning author, and then seeing, you know, Quan, I'm not starstruck, but it's like I'm a student. I'm sitting at your feet and I'm just sitting like, keep talking, right? Okay, all right, keep going, keep going. You know, I'm like just trying to absorb it all, you know what I mean? And so I'm gonna get into the book stuff. So let's talk about, before we start getting into animals and how, you know, all that good stuff, animal 1, 2, 3. Let's take a step back. How do you decide on your covers?
My covers?
Your covers,
It
cover
depends. It
design.
depends. Sometimes a lot of times what I do is I'll get people, and this is even with a major, I'll get people that I've worked with independently who I love their work, and I'll get them a check from a major.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes what I do is I'll do a mock-up with Photoshop on my own. Like, I'll have an image in my head, because again, I'm an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I have an image in my head, and I'll say, yo, this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other times where, like, because I only have, there's a very, 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 very small group of graphic designers who I work with. And even sometimes with a major, like, if they can't get it right, I'll be like, my man or my homegirl over here will do it. And, you know, and just because I think that the packaging is important. That blanket, it's like a blanket that you swallow your newborn. You want them to be comforted. You want it to smell good. You want them to feel comfort. And I want my words to feel comfort in that packaging. Like, I've had some BS covers. Don't get me wrong, I've had some BS covers. But anytime, like, I've had direct input, like with all the animal covers, the Ghetto Bastard cover, a lot of different covers that I've done over my career. Them covers, they'd be like, Kawan got the hardest covers. Those are covers that I had direct input with.
And I mean, that's what got my attention. Like I told you, your books had me picking them up. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And even though that, again, that wasn't something at that time, that genre that I was even interested in. That was just me personally, because I was trying to be a church girl. But you know what I mean? It drew me. It drew me to you. And so, let's talk about when I was reading through your series and everything, because like I said, I haven't sat and read a complete book, but there's been times when people were returning. I'm reading it back. Don't judge me. Okay, to be honest with you, just with my schedule, me and reading, and especially with me writing, if you see right now in my office, I have 5 manuscripts I'm working on right now of my own, okay? So, and then trying to talk to y'all too. So it's like, I'm trying. I'm
just messing with you because as a writer, I don't get to read a whole lot because I don't want other people's stuff subconsciously spilling over my stuff.
And that's what it is.
I read like a lot of stuff. Like if I'm writing street fiction, I'll read paranormal or I'll read sports articles. My question to you, as someone who's working in the library, how do you not read?
Got you. That's an awesome answer because number one, the department that I was working in wasn't directly involved with books. So I was working in an area called the Dream Lab, which actually taught people how to do media, graphic design, video production, audio production.
That's dope.
So that's my background, is media production. So I was more hands-on on teaching people how to do these interviews and how to do commercials and how to research and all the fun, awesome stuff. So books, to be honest with you, I'm gonna tell you how I got the job in the library really quickly. I was sitting in the library, just moved back from Indianapolis, okay? No job, nowhere to go, but I didn't want to stay in my mom's house all day because, you know, that's stressful. When you feel like you failed on the outside and have to come back home, you try to get out the house, I'm going to look for a job. But I sat in the library from open to close, from 11 to 7, writing my books, okay? So when the Dream Lab opened, when they had this area, they were like, well, somebody was like, oh, well, you're good on computers. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I've had jobs before, you know, administrative positions. They're like, well, we have this position opening up. You should apply. So I started working there part-time. And then when this room was here, they were like, well, we don't have any staff to open up this media room. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm still paying student loans. And I've worked at radio stations, TV stations. I've had my own magazines. I've had my own TV shows. I could get it open. So I had to sit down, get it together. So I didn't have time to read books unless it was me following up on my Photoshop or, you know, the latest on InDesign or something like that. Other than that, nah, I'm into the artsy person. I'm not one to just sit down. Your book has to be, not you, but a person's book has to be able to capture me for me to sit there, read it, put it down, pick it up. Like M.T. Pope, Mondale Pope, I told him.
Yeah, I know.
I read his book. I call him my twin, right? We've been doing a Baltimore Book Festival together for many years. I said, hey, twin, I picked up one of your books and I read it for 7 hours straight from cover to cover. Okay, something like that. So me being in the library, oh yeah, I see books, and I just recently transferred to circulation. So I see the books that come in. I know what people want. I use the library as a research ground. Like, let me go look on the shelves and see what other people's books look like. Why did they get in this library? Why are people picking these books up? Let me talk to people to say, what do you like about this book? Or what made you pick this book up? Oh, you word of mouth or whatever. So it was more of a research and development place for me. So now that I have more time and opportunities and just stuff like that, I'm just doing, reading is like if I'm going somewhere, you know what I'm saying? If I'm going on a trip, then I might pull it out. But to be honest with you, like you said, I don't want my books to be photocopies or similar or compared to anybody else's. You know, some people were like, oh, you're trying to be like Tyler Perry. No, I'm a female. He's over there. You know what I mean? Because I write similar stuff, but I'm like, that's not me. You know, like my first book is called I Married Satan. That was my story about my marriage. That's how I saw my ex-husband, you know. And then I followed up with, oh, is that why I'm still single? Because we used to catch the MARC train back and forth between Baltimore.
I like those titles.
Thank you. And what happened was, good, come on and pick me up. So self-published, so come get me. So what happened was people actually were in my business and I started penning stuff. You know what I mean? So these were from experiences. So yeah, go ahead and call me and pick me up. We'll talk about it. But shameless plugs. I have no cut cards whatsoever. But so now I'm helping other people do their books. You know, so I give them how to go through, how to self-publish. And I do a lot of the programs at the library. So now when I call on a Quan, a Sharon Lucas, a M.T. Pope, Ro Brooks, you know, I'm calling out the heavy hitters because when I give people the information, I want them to have the real information, not just some watered down bootleg, you know, diluted stuff. I'm going to the sources. Like, look, Quan, I'm gonna get it right. Quan, I got you. He is actually everywhere, right? Because I might not be the only one mispronouncing your name, so I just want to say all of them to cover it. So thank you. So you see his name everywhere. You see it on the book, K''WAN. How is his book? And to be honest with you, I market your book at the library. I am the one that puts it on the shelf and I face it out there when I'm shelving. So I'll just give you guys that.
Thank you.
One of the people, see? So I make sure. And I'll put multiple copies too. So anyway, so yeah, that's how being in the library, I don't read. Because again, you're covered around books, 24/7. And when we get offline, I'll share with you some other things I do that my schedule just would not permit me just to read books, okay? Let's talk about, like you were asking me about how I work in the library, don't have time to read books, all that good stuff. But I want you to talk to, before we get into the other piece that you do, because we talked about you being an author / entrepreneur, because you have your own company too. So you're not just with the big publishing houses. Let's talk about that before we, go ahead, tell us about
I publish through multiple major houses, and I'm also free to do my own thing, which is a rarity because publishing houses can be territorial. So, but I have a unique situation, and it carries through with me to everything that I do, to where I can publish my own stuff.
But they scared of you, or you just negotiated?
I negotiated it.
I'll just make sure you ain't like scared of them, because
No.
Right,
listen, if you had to caught me in my 20s, maybe even early 30s, yeah, I was with that. I done did some things that I am not proud of, but it was necessary. To say, like, don't play with me.
But guess what? If I see this on a book, I'm gonna come after you for this one. I live under a no judgment, no shame, no regret rule. So no shame.
Why would you see that in the book?
I'm just saying, don't get it twisted. No judgment, no shame, no regrets. Okay, whatever. Don't get it twisted. I already got it. I got it pinned on something already. But so that was one of the things when I first got it started writing. I was working with Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, and I was so excited when this company called Publish America. You ever heard of them? They were giving everybody. They gave everybody $1.
But they're not. That's not a publishing house. It's a vanity press.
And that's what I learned. See, this is what made me start learning the differences between traditional vanity and self, because Dr. Dyson was like, don't let nobody lock you into no 7-year contract. And I'm like, dude, whatever. You got your books out. I got contracts. And and I tore it up. I was like, let me send them their $1 back. They only gave me $1 in advance. You know what I mean? But
because a dollar seals the deal. Money changed hands.
Right. And so I sent it back. I told him I denied the contract, and I started researching. So
can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
Why would you take $1 advance?
I was pressed. I was a new author. Think about it. You get anything. Somebody just valued my stuff. This was years ago. This was like 10 years ago. Okay, because you came out to break getting $1 million contracts. Don't come for us.
Nope, I did not. No, I did not. My first couple of years of my career, I didn't make no money.
Okay,
I was getting robbed left and right.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? You mean the dollar, like, and I'm not gonna say, and I think it's poor form thinks I wasn't making no money. Let's say if let's say my royalty was for 80,000, I would get 60. And just using that as an example. So it's like a lot of stuff I was naive to, and I was pressed, like you say, to get on. So I signed a deal that wasn't good for me. And it took me 10 years. Yeah. So it took me and I had to really get active. And I learned that you can shoot 100 people. It ain't gonna change the word in that contract. It's not gonna break that agreement. You have to get smarter. You have to be smarter. And I eventually got the rights to my books back when I went about it smarter.
Well, see, that's why I decided, and I try to stress to people that, with the major publishing houses, unless you're a quant, you're not going to get the major deal because you don't have that following.
No, that's not true.
Really?
That's not true.
Okay, so tell me, teach me.
What I will say is, okay, you're at a point where the major publishing houses, it was like, you follow sports?
Oh, I'm going to tell you about that when we get offline. I absolutely do.
So you follow the NBA, right?
I follow NBA and ABA, yes.
Now,
I'll tell you about that.
Now, do you remember when they had, I think it was 2016, where the salary cap went boom and bums got paid? It happened like that in publishing. There were people getting deals like out of the left field. Like I ain't gonna call nobody out,
right.
But it were people getting deals that the majors ended up regretting because they gave them all this money. So what happened was they said, yo, we're overpaying these dudes. And then you had people that were coming in and were taking pennies on the dollar. So it affects how people who were really putting out good stuff would get paid. So it's like, we ain't getting we make good money, right? And I'm not going to say we, because we is a grand old thing. Those of us who know how to hustle, are surviving and are living. If you don't know how to hustle, because it's just, the game is up and down.
Mm-hmm.
The game is up and down. And so you have to really know how to, like, and I used to always tell people this, don't depend solely on a major and think that that's how you're going to make your fortune. Because you'll get maybe 60 days of hard promotion out of them. And then what?
So,
And then on top of that, you have to pay the advance back.
so what are some suggested ways that you think, without giving us too much, because I do believe that people need to research and learn the game before they just jump into it, right? And so when I come across, a lot of people be like, oh, come on, you know, what's this? Or give me the phone numbers of this and show me how to do that. I don't like that. I like to say, go look it up,
And
right? I think you know influence.
I don't answer those messages. Like,
Really?
and I'll tell you like this. You come to me, let's say if you come to me, right, and you need some help, and you have already done some research and you kind of got an idea, but there's some things you're not clear on, I'll tell you everything I know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come to me and you haven't done anything, I'm going to spin you. I'm going to spin you. If you come to me like, yo, I want to do this and all that, well, what did you research so far? What have you done? Nothing really. That's why I'm coming to you. Spin.
I think you.
And not because.
No, go ahead.
Not because it's not because I don't want to help, but it's like, yo, homie, like, you ain't do no research. You just said because I answer my own DMs and emails and stuff.
Right.
Let me take a stab in the dark. And because a stab in the dark is what got me put on.
Right.
But it ain't for everybody. But when that stab in the dark with Triple Crown put me on, I had already done a gang of research and I was ready to go. I was already ready to go. I just wasn't sure which direction.
So I don't want you to tell anybody that you're the only child anymore, because you sound like my twin. So I have another twin in the game, which I'm sitting back like, because I get that all the time. You know, hey, can you show me this? I want you. This is what I get. Oh, I want you to do my book. What you want me to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. like what am I gonna do with it?
Like, what are you gonna do? So it's like, you know. So you did mention something a second ago, right? You were talking about how you took a stab in the dark, you got put on. Who are some of your influences? Other than, you don't have to be specific if you don't want to. But I mean, you said that you come from the streets. I got it. I'm with you. I can't say too much because we're at work. But we'll talk offline. But what? Even if they're in the streets, who were some of your influences that got you on? I know your mom and writing was therapeutic and all that.
My mom.
But your mom's your biggest influence.
My mom was my only influence. Everybody else was a victim.
Okay.
Now, what I mean by, I know that's.
I'm like, you have to fix that one up.
What? No, what I mean by this, there were a lot of people that I reached out to, and I wasn't asking for a handout. I wasn't asking for money. I wasn't asking to put on. I had specific questions, like, can you answer this for me? And they would not. So when I finally started getting my own little buzz going, I looked at everybody, and I can run down a list of names to you right now, and I said, you. This is what you value most. This is the genre that you write in that you value most, and these are your readers, they mine. This is the genre that you write in, you value most, these are your readers, they mine. I'm gonna squash you. I'm gonna take your head. And that was my thing, like crazy, like Rocky doing shit, like I'm gonna take your head. And eventually it was like, okay. So that's why I don't take it personal when people try to do the same thing to me. Like, I gotta go ahead. And the thing is, I never went at anybody. Like you said, you see a lot of the internet beefs and stuff going on like that. Well, person to do that. When I say I'm gonna take what's yours, it's like me outwriting you, me becoming a better writer, more savvy than you. And everybody on that list, I've surpassed them. Thank God, knock on wood.
All right. So let's talk about you was giving some advice for up and coming authors, right? Those who want to get on and do their thing. So let me ask you this, before you give us some advice and some nuggets for us up and coming authors, let's talk about the fact that it seems like, from what I got, some of your characters, it's kind of like, and I don't want to compare you to him, so don't take it out of context. Just follow me, okay? Take my hand and walk with me for a second. Tyler Perry, he'll put a play out, right? And then he'll take Medea, he'll spin her out. She has her own. The Bam will have her own thing. Meet the Browns, they'll have their own thing. So they're spin-off of one core place. Is that how you come up with your series, or is it? No.
Well, because honestly, I never know it's gonna be a series until I've written that one book and I still got 40,000 more words that I need to add.
Okay.
Even with the Hood Rat series, if you notice the Hood Rat series, it has no numbers. It's not Hood Rat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
They're different titles because they're different stories with reoccurring characters.
Okay.
And I never set out to do it like that. It's just like if I'm writing something and I may think like, oh, you know what, this character would be bomb in here. Let me put this character in and do that like that. But I never set out to write a series. I was always the author. And if you look at prior to 2006, and I was like, what, 4 years in by then?
Mm-hmm.
I had never written a sequel because I was always an author that said, I'm not writing no sequel. I'm writing standalone.
Okay. But didn't Animal become a series because it was a spinoff?
Right. Because again, it became so much for like this. The first Animal was born from the Hood Rat series.
Right.
So the Hood Rat series is 6 books long. So, and even the way he started, Animal was a character. I just needed a filler character.
Okay.
Because the book was about Tech and Tion. I needed a filler character who would die at the end of the book. But when I created Animal, I breathed life into him because you have to breathe life into your characters.
Mm-hmm.
And when I breathed life into him, I loved him so much.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't deserve to die in the book. It was the same thing with the book after that.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to die. Like with every Animal book, every book Animal's been in, I have an ending that I wrote where he dies and never used it.
Mm.
Because I became so attached to him, like, little brother, I feel your pain.
Mm.
We're going to get this pain out on these pages. I feel your pain. He became a real person to me. And it's not saying that I don't have some type of emotional attachment to all my characters, but y'all know if you've read all my early books, I kill my main characters. But there was something about this hard luck story, this little dude who never had nothing and never had nobody. I couldn't do him like that. He had been pooped on so much in his life, in the books.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do him like that. It was just, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it was something in me. I was too emotionally attached to him to inflict something on him like that.
So is Animal you?
All the characters in me at different points in my life. All the characters embody different aspects of my personality. Okay.
So with this next book that you're working on, right? You know I'm a fish for it. Is this another animal book, or are we going somewhere else?
No, I have I'm working on Animal 5.
Okay.
I have Black Lotus 2 coming out in November. I have The Reluctant King that's coming out right after that. I have The Diamond Princess that'll probably come out right after that. See, with Animal 5, I'm not going to tell you when I'm putting it out. I'm not doing no pre-orders, no promotion, because people have been waiting 5 years.
You know, I was going to ask that question. Come on. You know I was going.
People have been waiting 5 years. And so I said to myself, you got to give them something to remember him by.
So is this the one where Animal dies? I'm
not going to say he dies, but you have to understand something. I wrote about nothing but Animal for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I threw little stories in here and there, but the primary focus was Animal for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Every publishing house I went to, every reader that I sold to, they all wanted more Animal. So when I got to that 4th book, I was just burnt out of Animal. And I was like, I have so many more characters to feed you guys and so many more great books to give you. I hate this person. Like, I don't want to write about him anymore because y'all made it like that. Mm-hmm. And so I stepped away from Animal and I just forgot about him. And everybody, and believe me, every day I get 10, 20, 50, you know what I'm saying? I get different messages like Animal 5 every day. If you go on my posts or on my social media, it's always about Animal 5. But I had to get into the headspace to say I'm ready to write about it because I don't write for the satisfaction of the readers. If you are a reader and you want me to, and you're gonna petition for me to write something because you want it, it'll never happen. And the more you ask about it, the more reluctant I'm gonna be to write it.
Because like even with the Animal series, and actually more, you know, not just Animal but Hood Rats and a whole bunch of other ones. I wasn't just seeing the paperback books. I'm talking about people were taking the audio books, which means they were moving around listening to this, right? And so let me ask you this. What character are you now? Or what character
What character am I?
Because you're older now. You said you've been in this for a while. You're older, and each character has been like a part of you, right? So which character, and you might not even have one now. You might have one that's being birthed through you right now that's developing just based on where you are now in your life, you know? Come on now.
Where I'm at now in my life? It depends on what day you ask me this question. Some days I might be Papa Clark. Some days I might be Raph. So it's like I'm not quite animal in those guys at this point in my life. I'm not those guys. But I'm not feet up, smoking cigars. You know what I'm saying? I'm still hungry. I'm still a hungry dog. I still feel like I have something to prove. Because and the reason I say that is because there are so many new and really talented writers, and there's some trash writers. But for the most part, there's some really new and talented writers that are coming out, and they look at me as the old head, right? Not just me, but all of us as the old heads. But I want you to make no mistake. I can get in the ring with everybody. And so to prove that point forward, your writing has to show it.
Okay.
So I can't get too lax where I'm Vito Corleone when I should be Sonny.
So let me ask you this: when you're developing your character, and we're getting ready to, I'm transitioning somewhere with this. That's why I told you take my hand and walk with me for a second. When you're developing your narratives from your characters and your verbiage, do you actually sometimes talk it out, or it just comes to you and you start penning?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
Very early on with the stories, I would go so far into character that if you lived with me, you don't know who you're going to encounter that day, because I think you have to, and I think you have to get that deep into character.
Ooh.
Like I always tell, God bless my daughter's mom, I used to joke with her before she passed. I used to joke with her like, how did you live with K-Dog for a year and a half? You know, because you get into that, you start to speak like them, you start to move like them, you start to think like them.
Yeah, but that gives you the validity too, though, right? Because you're
actually, me being outside gives me the validity. Me being out, I'm always before the COVID, I'm always outside. There's nowhere, and I'm never dumb about it, but there's nowhere that I can't go that I've been before.
I got you. Facts. You always got eyes watching you, right? Good and bad, right? So I got you. I keep telling you when we go offline, we'll talk about some stuff. So you're also a mentor for at-risk kids, right? Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. Number one, how did you get involved with it? Why are you involved with it? I mean, I don't want to sound dumbfounded, but I want to hear from you.
You know what started that? I would get like a lot of letters. This is before the email stuff. I would get a lot of correspondences from kids in youth homes and older guys in jail and all of that stuff. So I went to my publisher at the time, and I was like, yo, listen, I know y'all want to send me on a Walmart tour and this place, that place, but what about these places? Can we go here? Can we divert some of the budget to go there? And they're like, no, we're not paying for that. So I started paying for it out of pocket. For like the books and the travel and so on and so forth. And people started hearing about the stuff that I was, and I was just like local stuff first. People that I know, like you might work at a school or correctional facility, local stuff first. And other people started hearing about it. And they would be like, oh, well, can you come here? You don't need no budget. This was going on there. I was in Minnesota not too long ago in a prison. And the reaction that I got, and one of the guards, when I first walked in, the guard was just looking at me like I was coming to do a talk, like a workshop. And the guard just looked at me, he didn't pay me no mind. So what it was they handed out this flyer that said Kawana's coming to this prison. But you like, Kawana's not coming to Minnesota and this prison, that's not happening. So when I really showed up, people that had not signed up for the workshop couldn't get in.
Oh, wow.
So, and the word was going around the jail that I was in the jail. And so when I come out from the workshop, it was like chaos. Like people just everywhere, inmates everywhere, like banging on cell doors. It was chaos. And the CEOs were kind of like thrown because people were coming out and like, yo, come on, what's up? And I'm like, nah, don't let me speak. Like I'm not, of course, like I said, I'm not gonna be dumb about it. But if you want to shake my hand and give me a hug, I'm gonna hug you. I'm gonna shake your hand. Just because you in here and I'm out here, it doesn't mean we're different people.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm giving a hug, I'm shaking hands, and whatever. So when I left, the same guard, when I walked in, the old man, he was like, yeah, I've been working here like 20-something years, and I've never seen nothing like that. Who are you? I said, I'm nobody, my mother's son. Because he couldn't understand, because he didn't know why the effect was like that, because he dudes was reading my books. They in jail, so the fact that I came to the prison and I'm just moving around and there, like in Minnesota of all places.
Mhm.
And then, so that was real for me. And that was like, and it touched me so much.
So all this time I've been trying to get the keys to your success, and I got it. I got a couple of
What's
them.
that? What is it?
All right, I'm about
What
to
are
tell
they?
you. I got you. I got you. First of all, be genuine. Second of all, be compassionate and relate. Third of all, be yourself. Be professional, which kind of ties back into everything, right? And then
Yep.
don't let it be forced, but let it just come out naturally as you going, right? And
And
fifth,
what's the most important one? Go ahead.
I was getting ready to say, and
Go
fifth, but
ahead.
most important, always support those. Always give back the support. No.
Yeah, that's up there. That's one of them. But you know what
Thank
the
you.
most important thing is? The most important jewel I can ever give you in life?
What's
Be
that?
humble.
I said
Be
that. That was
humble.
number 2.
Did you? Oh shit! I'm
I
sorry.
did.
Oh, stop. I'm sorry.
I
Sorry.
said be genuine.
I'm
I said be humble. You see me this
sorry.
place back. I said that number 2. Genuine is first because
Okay.
you can't be humble if you're not real. And then I said be humble.
Yeah.
And then I ran the list down. Don't come for me. I had this.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. I'm
And I
sorry.
said
I
number
missed it. Okay.
5 is don't be afraid to support those who supported you because you said something. You said there were
Yeah.
many people that tried to be like crabs in a barrel, and then you had to come back and put the lid on
Yeah.
that barrel and say, boom, let me
Yeah.
go ahead and carry this crate out. You know what I mean? And show you how to get rid of this stuff. So that's why I said,
Yeah.
I got you. I listened. I became your student. So
You
is
know
there
what? You know what the funniest part? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
no, it's your house. Go ahead.
the funniest part about that, like that Holy Millie thing, there are a lot of authors, right? And they give me books when I'm at events, and like they'll hit me like, yo, I just put this book out, and I'll be like, yo, I'm gonna support you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the majority of them probably think like, you know, he's just saying that. I really go out and buy these books. If you DM me and I tell you I'm gonna buy your book, 9 times out of 10 I have it in paperback or Kindle. I may not have read it because I don't get to do a lot of reading,
Right.
but I buy them. And I was talking to this dude, and he was like, yo, such so and so forth. I gave you book kids. I'm like, oh yeah, such and such. It's in right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the book is. I post a picture with look, I got it. I remember.
But you know, it's really funny when you were saying about going to the jail in Minnesota. I forgot about something when I was giving you the keys to success. One of the things that I realized because I do a lot, I make sure that I talk to a lot of people, whether it's on the street level or whatever level. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just emphasize that because even though I put in my book, some people they say they're from the streets and they're really from the sidewalk. And so with that being said, you know what I mean? Or the front porch, sidewalk or the front porch. So for me, for example, what I do is I try to talk to all people. You know, I'll talk to the guy that's on the block. I'll talk to the guy that's, you know, running the, whatever, you know, just to kind of see, because at first I used to be that type of person, to be honest with you. That's why I adapted to No Judgment. They would be like, oh my God, why is he out there doing that? Like, you can't get on job. You can't do this. But then when I really started hearing some of the stories of people, like real life and having to live real life, I said, you know what? I can't judge. Do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand that you got to do what you got to do to make sure you're good. And so some of those same guys, and that's why I said that just reminded me being over with Inch and stuff, Inch's book stand, there were guys that would come.
That's my dude. Inch is my dude.
No, that's my homie. But anyway, there were people that came in here. He gave me one of my first book signings. So, you know, I always give him love.
But he's a good dude. Like, I've known Inch, man, probably about 15 years.
Really? Mine was about 2000, about 2010.
Whenever, because I knew who he was when he was locked up. I knew who he was.
Yeah.
And, you know, we moved in the same circles. And when he came home and I got to meet him, like, he's always just been a good dude.
So he, like, a lot of guys were coming over that have been locked up. You know what I mean? And then, like, guys used to write me from jail. Don't my business. And they used to just talk about this, or they'd be like, can you order this book for me? And I was like, what is so important about, you know, this book and stuff? But what I realized too is that they related to, just like you have your characters that you bring out, that everybody in there can see themselves. So they're seeing a mirror reflection.
Right.
And I think that's
you
probably,
know what? And you know, I hit my toe. But you know what else?
Go ahead.
With some of these guys, whether you from Harlem, whether you from Baltimore, in these books, and especially when you're incarcerated, it may be the only time you get to walk through a familiar neighborhood for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You can only walk through your hood. You know what I'm saying? get that recollection through the books. Because you ain't going home no time soon.
So you give them that connection, that so they don't feel like they're in isolation and they're not by themselves, which is great because with me having a mental
Did I
health.
freeze?
Say again? No, that was you before. But like with me having a mental health first aid certification, it's really important that, people's mental health. And so honestly, you're doing therapy just through your writing. And so I don't want you to ever think, hold on, is there anything, before I get into my closing dissertation, is there anything else that you want to say to either an aspiring author, a dude that may, be in, whatever the case may be? We don't know who's going to see this. It's your time. I'm going to give you your moment.
I would say, follow your heart, not trends. Because if you notice, a lot of writers are following trends now. When we came out, there was no trends. Like Sister Soldier had her lane, Terry Woods had her lane, Shannon had his lane, Vicky had her lane, I had my lane. We may have been writing in the same genre, but our stories were different. There was nothing recycled. So we set our own trends. So I would think like, and even if you think, because me personally, when I write a book, before I turn it in, I think it's the worst book ever. What people, and that's real. It's real. I'm being really honest with you.
I just feel so much better now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you may think it's trash, but it may save someone else's life. You may get that email like, I read this book and it embodied what I was going through and showed me how to deal with it. So to you, it's trash in your head because authors are so insecure. But somebody else may be like, thank you for writing this.
And that's what.
So write from your heart.
That's what I got when I was writing the story about my ex-husband. Like I was telling you earlier, it was about me trying to get revenge on him because you got to read the book to find out.
Oh, you one of them.
But the thing is, I was writing it for a magazine article, and it just kept going, and I had to start dealing with some stuff that I was dealing with, all the way back to childhood that brought me to even get that type of marriage. And so many people are like, oh my God, even my mom came to me and was like, so talk to me about this. So tell me. So it opened so many different doors, but it was just me being genuine, humble, professional, going through Kawan's keys to success, and I got it. So this is what I want to say to you. I want to say that I am looking forward to you not only following those keys that continuing to follow those keys that we just discussed, but I'm looking forward to the next level, which are, I'm waiting for the movies. I'm waiting.
Oh, we got that. We're working on that.
I already know. That's why I said I'm waiting on the movies. I'm waiting on that next, you're a household name now, but I want it to become a generational household name. And so the way that that's going to happen is that, this person's going to read it. The kid is going to see them reading a book. Guess what? They're going to be curious about reading a book. It's going to continue to be a domino trickle effect. Yeah. So I want to say thank you for even being obedient and allowing your therapy to trickle over and be an overflow to the rest of us. Not just us authors, but those who are your followers, your supporters. I'm going to say your family, because I don't want you to get, I want to keep you humble. No. You know what I'm saying?
I'm always going to be humble. This is a square that nobody can knock me off of. Even with cash money, and everybody know how we was doing it in cash money. Always been humble.
All right. Well, when I get my cut of the check from you, we're done with that part. We're just talking now. Then, but I'm going to stay humble as well, too. I already told MT he got to send me a couple checks. I got some merchandise. Come on, too. So, look, when we're done with that part. Unless you had anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You have to answer this question honestly.
Hold on. Is this for is this for the broadcast or is this just offline? Just me and you?
No, you can do it online, but I want you to answer the question.
Yeah, no, we're still good. I'm just saying we're done with that part. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You have a different opinion of me now after having talked to me?
I told you that. I said, you know what? Now I can call you family. I can't just say, oh, yeah, that's my homie. Because honestly, you're the first person that I've done these conversations with that I have not known personally. So like MT, Ro, all of those people, Melvin Jackson, these are all people I've known and, called my brothers, grew up with them. So I have now promoted you to being one of my brothers.